This is Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars with Trevor Long and Stephen Fennick. Thanks to NRMA Insurance and Uniden.
Great to have your company. Two Blokes Talking Tech. That's Stephen Fennick.
Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars, actually.
Oh,
mate.
that's the show, yeah.
Yeah.
Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. The other show, very important, but not as good as this one for an electric car fan. Stephen Fennick, Trevor Long. And we do it thanks to the proud support of NRMA Insurance, helping over 3 million people across Australia protect the things they care about, and Uniden's smart dash cams, CanStar Blue award-winning, 5-star rated dash cams.
Award-winning.
Cracking good quality, great products. We'll tell you more about them shortly. Stephen, we've been travelling for a bit the last couple of weeks, so we haven't been able to touch on some of the news going around. But I think it's still timely to talk about this. I want to say went viral really because it's one of those things that if you are anti-EV,
yes,
or skeptical, you latch onto these. This would have been a big share on Facebook among the skeptics, right? Now, I saw 7 News did a big thing about it. I saw a lot of articles. The one I'm looking at right now, I think you're looking at as well, Yahoo.
Yep.
Tesla graveyard photo shows major shift in EV market in Australia. Now, in Victoria alone, some 2,000 Teslas arrive in Port Melbourne every month without any buyers, and they're starting to pile up. So, look, the pictures seem to tell 1,000 words, right? That's the point they're trying to make.
There are a lot of them there.
There's a lot of cars.
They're being unloaded.
Waiting to be picked up. And there was, I think the thing that made me think it was a legit thing is there was a quote, like someone on the record from like the Transport Association, like the Truckies Union, let's call it, in Victoria saying, we're normally driving these things out every day, and now they're just sitting here.
Yeah.
So you think, okay, there's been a shift, there's been a change. But taking a step back and going, hey, what's actually going on here? My assessment is this is really poor reporting. It's like, okay, lots of cars in a yard, let's report on it.
Maybe talk to Tesla about it.
And look, I'm sure Tesla wouldn't talk about it on the record, and that probably annoys some journalists because that's just the way Tesla are, and the same way Apple are, really. Yeah. But see, Tesla is a startup. It's still... in the way they operate, everything they do, they're a startup, right? If you look at Mazda, BMW, all these companies, the way they do things, what they broadly do is they work out what they're going to buy from head office, and they order them, and they bring them to the country. In many occasions, when you go to order a car, you want a specific grade, model, colour. Yep. They'll order it for you, and it'll take 3 months to get here. Yeah. But in many cases, there's a car sitting in a showroom that you can buy today. To drive down Pennant Hills Road, not far from here, and there are Kias and Hyundais and Audis and
that you can drive today.
You can walk in and go, listen. Imagine walking in and going, listen, I've got cash in my bank. Yep. My car's exploded, and I want a new one. I want you to show me 5 cars that I could drive away today. Oh, they will show you 5 cars.
Of course they will.
They'll happily show you 5 cars. Yeah. But you go to Tesla, and they have showrooms that are not dealerships. They are not, in fact, sales mechanisms. You buy online. Yeah. If you do anything at the dealer at the showroom, it's just someone
a result of what you've done online.
It's something helping you buy online on their computer. That's the only reason it happens. But what they are is test drive centers. Elon said this himself. Yep. It's where you go to experience the car. Tesla, since the day dot, like when you ordered yours, it was like, what do I want? Where is it? Da-da-da. And they would order it for you. You were lucky there was another one, all that kind of stuff.
Similar to what I wanted,
But that happens in normal cars as well. Yep. I think what this reporting is missing is that there is a shift in the Aussie EV market, and that is it's becoming more mainstream. And what that means is there are such big numbers of sales and there is such competition that actually Tesla has to operate differently. And they've probably got the scale now to manufacture it differently so they can produce a ton of white Model Ys and white Model 3s and, they only sell a certain number of colours and configurations. They can ship them. They can have them sitting at a dock and they can say to people, waiting time, 2 weeks, and they can have it shipped to you pretty quickly.
I think they've sort of reached the economies of scale now. They're sort of the manufacturing's getting better and more efficient. And I think too that they're facing a lot of competition. You got to think that if I go down the road to BYD, they're saying I can have one within 3 days or a week. And so there's that kind of competition where it wasn't, as you mentioned, it wasn't that long ago where you ordered a Tesla, you sometimes waited 6 months for it or even longer in some cases. So I think the fact that, they're coming into the country and people, that photograph of the cars on the dock, it can be viewed in two ways. Whether look, then no one wants them, but the other view is that here they are. Here's the stock that's going to go shipping to around the country, other parts to all the different delivery centres, and so I think that this should be viewed as a positive thing rather than negatively, like thinking it's a graveyard. Strategically,
also, the way new car sales are reported in Australia is very strictly monthly sales reports, right? Yep. Now, for the last couple of years since Tesla started reporting their sales numbers publicly through VFacts, what would happen is you'd go, because we can look at Mazda and Ford and BMW and MG and we can go, who's tracking well, right? How are their sales? But with Tesla, it goes 3,000, 0. 2,000, 1,000, 4,000, 0.
Because
volatile, not because of the sales are volatile, but because the shipping is volatile,
stock,
right?
Yeah, stock.
So ships come in, and we witnessed this with our own cars waiting for them. A ship can be stuck off the port for 2 weeks, and that could delay everyone.
Yes.
So I think what they've realised is, hey, what we need to do is bring more in that are keep going on demand when necessary, but bring a bunch in that are just
stock involved.
Stock.
Yeah.
So that people can get sales, so that we can flatten out a little bit the volatility of that sales curve. That's what I think they're doing.
It's what happened to me. So what you're saying, like say you order a white Model 3 with black upholstery, that's 90% of what they make anyway. So that could potentially be there. In my case, my Tesla, I ordered the Midnight Silver, which is the gunmetal grey colour with black seats and the 75D. And I got a call saying, look, we've got your exact car. But it's exactly what you wanted, but the seats are white. Do you want that one? Otherwise, you'd have to wait another 4 or 5 months. I said, no, I'll take that. And turned out it was a car that was ordered by someone else that couldn't get the finance, and it ended up with me.
Yeah.
So this is sort of what
Happy
we're seeing
days.
here, where
it's
want to fill your order.
Honestly, I feel like it's a sign not of the EV market failing, but of it maturing.
Absolutely, yes, definitely. I think it's like a sign of success where there's more stock on board.
And look, I may be wrong. We may be wrong. But I think that over the next 5 months, as we look at the sales numbers, we'll see continued growth in EV sales across the board.
Well, you've seen them on the road, mate. There's so many, and more of the. You're talking about Tesla, the new
Highland
shape, the Highland Model 3s, and who knows when the Model Y version.
Apparently
that's
not
come
this
out.
year now. Elon said,
but it's. I'm seeing so much more of those newer models. So that tells me that sales aren't slumping. Sales are growing because all the new models are on the road.
Yeah. Plus, as you said, competition, right? BYD. There's so many of them out there. It's pumping along.
Yeah.
Now, every month there's going to be differences in sales for various reasons, but I just think it's clickbait. Honestly, most of what I saw was pure and utter clickbait. And I think that's
true.
Frustrating.
They all latched onto it, and you're right. There is a sentiment out there of sort of the everyone sort of thinking the EVs they're doomed. It's not going to succeid. But guess what? They're actually doing pretty good.
Now, the other story that I thought was fascinating, and this is literally just a few days ago, and I'll tell this story from the glass lens of CES 2022, the first time back after COVID. We went back to Vegas.
Yep.
And I sat inside a Fisker Ocean. Fisker Ocean. This was a beautiful looking car. I sat and talked to their, I think, sales manager. He talked about how they were going to make right-hand drive. They were going into UK. And I said, bring it to Australia. It's a beautiful looking car. This is also a car that when they finally got ready for production and stuff, they had some kind of pre-release vehicles out in the media, and it got pretty heavily panned by a couple of people, including Marquez. And a lot of people say that absolutely kicked them in the guts for sales. Mate, they've filed for bankruptcy.
Oh, no.
Bye-bye, Fisker. It's all over.
Wow.
Isn't that remarkable?
Do you think that's a result of that? Obviously, the poor reception of the
Look, I think the poor reception's
wave.
there, but I don't think that kills the company.
Yeah.
I think the fact that it's hard to build a car company, right?
Yeah.
I think the cost of building a car company is wild. And I don't think so. According to the report that I'm reading on thedrive.com, in 2020 they were valued at $2.9 billion and had more than $1 billion in cash to work with.
Yeah. So they had a lot of promise, didn't they?
Despite everything they spent, it barely managed to sell 5,000 cars, less than half of what it built.
Wow.
So,
And so that's a dead set startup, isn't it, Fisker?
Yeah.
It's a tough world out there. Tough road. It is.
It's sad because the thing is that it was a good-looking car. It had all the potential. But I also think, and again, this is purely a personal assessment, I think that when you look at the market and you try and come in, in the, like, let's say 2020, so they probably, I don't have the history of the company in front of me, they were probably planning this for 4 years before that, right? You don't just start a car company.
Then some,
You build, you plan, you scale, and then suddenly you realise MG, Nissan, Kia, Hyundai, BMW, Mercedes, Audi, all the traditional car companies are already, they've scaled. They're boom, they're ready.
They're ready to go.
And their cars are good and their customers are loyal and their brand is strong.
Yeah.
How does Fisker or Lucid or VinFast, there's been so many different companies I've seen over the years.
I saw Lucid in the US when we were there.
How do they compete in a world where actual, real, well-known manufacturers are doing okay and they're kicking into this market?
Well, Tesla, you look back at what Tesla did, they were electric only, and they were sort of the first to do that.
Yeah.
And so they had the jump there because of their just the sheer difference of them only being EVs. And it actually put the blowtorch to the main other manufacturers to say, well, okay, we've got to move
that
here.
Came at the failure of Fisker and others because they jumped in response to Tesla and the growth of Tesla as a business and profits and all, stock price and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But they didn't see the forest for the trees, essentially. They didn't see the fact that the market was totally fine with the existing brands and Tesla being the rising tide that lifted all the boats.
Correct.
And there wasn't room for them to float as well.
Lifted all the EV boats.
Well,
but it's you're right. It's tough competition, mate. Like if you think of a buyer today, a very discerning customer would be someone who's considering an EV. Mm-hmm. There are the choices that are out there now. We discussed this with Jacob as well. We will, or did we not?
We will.
We will be. The whole choice. I remember when I bought my Tesla, you could count on one hand the number of EVs you could buy.
Spot on, yeah.
Today,
you've got choice.
So many different choices.
That's the lucky thing.
We're going to hear more about that. Yeah.
All right, we got a big show. We got a caller to speak to, and we're going to talk to the head of product for BMW Australia right after this.
This is Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars with Stephen Fennick and Trevor Long. Thanks to NR.
Mate, you're on the decks down there. It's like you're on the decks.
Just rapping away. Well, that's not what it's called. DJing. I don't think DJ is actually doing it. I think it's pressing play.
Press play. Yeah, I think so. Twist some knobs.
Two old blokes talking DJs. Yeah, good.
I don't know. It looks easy.
One of the commitments we've made on this show is to try and talk to as many people as we can across the industry. We've got lots of great callers. We love hearing from our audience. And if you are in the market for an electric car or you've bought one or you're a bit on the fence, 0477 657 657. Send us a text.
We'll get you off that fence.
We'd love to. We may not get you off the fence. You may not be a current buyer. You may be for the future.
Maybe.
That's okay. Yeah. But someone that knows about the future, they have a crystal ball on their desk, which not only looks to the German headquarters, but also looks to the Australian market.
Yes.
Is Brendan Michael from BMW Australia. He's the head of product, and he joins us on the line right now. G'day, Brendan. How you doing?
Oh, very good, guys. Thanks for having me on the show.
Mate,
much appreciated.
So great to talk to you because it is kind of part of the world that you're in is not prediction, but trying to understand the market a bit because it's a tough space trying to convert an audience to a different style of car. Where are we at today from a BMW perspective in the transition to the EV world?
Yes, well, I'm sure you understand that we rolled out our first electric vehicle back in 2014 with the BMW i3.
I remember being there.
Yeah, exactly. A lot has changed since then. Our product portfolio in the fully electric space, or the BEV space, has grown significantly since then. More recently, we've now got 16 fully electric variants into the Australian market. 6 of those are beneath the luxury car tax threshold, which also has that big benefit of that fringe benefits tax incentive, which I've heard you guys talking about in the past on your show. So from last year, I think it was about 11% of our volume last year was fully electric vehicles, and already this year to date, we're tracking at about 25 to 26% in May year to date. So we've actually more than doubled our mix year on year. So it's going quite well for us at the moment.
So BMW is obviously a very well-established brand, a premium brand, prestige brand. How and your customers, your drivers are also, I'm sure, have had a long history with the company. How are you finding those customers? Are they transitioning at the same rate at which you're transitioning your fleet, or is it a bit of a harder sell for them?
Yeah, well, it's a pretty good question. The feedback we're getting from our dealer network, and we've got 45 dealers around the country now, and some of the positive feedback we're getting is with our model portfolio. I'll give one as an example. Our X3 SUV, which is our highest selling internal combustion variant, we have a fully electric version of the X3 called the iX3, and it pretty much drives like a BMW. It's the same operation, same infotainment. It's one of those cars where our customers are finding it's a very easy transition from your existing X3 that's operating on an internal combustion. Everything's so familiar for them to step into an iX3 and make that BEV.
I would have thought that's one of the most remarkable things. If you go into a showroom, and I think I've said this to a couple of people, I'm blown away by the i4 personally. It looks to me like a BMW sports sedan or coupe, but it's a fully electric vehicle. And mate, they are selling in absolutely brilliant numbers. I'm looking at the VFAX data here. I mean, you've sold over 800 of those just this year.
Yes. So, we got our heads together very early last year, early in 2023, and our aim was to get as many models positioned below that LCT threshold as possible. And one of them, we originally weren't going to bring this model into the Australian market, the i4 eDrive 35. But we quickly changed tune around about middle of last year, and we brought it in by the end of last year. And this year the sales figures speak for themselves. It's one of our highest selling individual BMW models at the moment. It's going very well for us.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure obviously Australian market is potentially different to other markets. In terms of uptake of EVs from a BMW perspective, are we punching above our weight? Are we adopting faster than other territories?
Yes, we are. We are actually. It's quite surprising. When we tipped our toe into this water, especially this year with our aggressive positioning strategy. To give you one example, traditionally over the years we would be number 14 or number 15 in the sales race nationally. When you compare all brands, when you look at the BEV space where we sit at the moment, we're number 4 on the chart for BEV. So for a premium brand like us, we are doing quite well at the moment in our market. But to compare to other European markets, I know in Germany it's about 20 to 25% is fully electric. We're on par with some key European markets at the moment.
And that's a critical thing, right? Because we're behind in time. We've come to this race a bit slower than other markets. I think we accept that as a nation. It's been a bit slow in terms of government involvement and incentives and all that kind of stuff. But there's also some really strange reporting going on right now. And, I don't want you to comment specifically on that reporting or other companies, but the bottom line is you see demand. You see customers wanting for this and opting for this at exactly the rate, if not a higher rate, than you would have considered to be likely.
Yeah, well, we are already seeing this demand and transformation. And I suppose if I could pull out something like we do, we often do customer surveys and things like that. But our intel is telling us that our customers, 50% of them on their next vehicle purchase are looking to purchase a fully electric vehicle. So I think the demand is there. And in our results we're seeing so far at the moment, it seems to be working, and customers are taking up electric vehicles. We can see that quite clearly.
Just on that, and I know that you're obviously you want to sell someone not the next car, that you want to sell them their next 3 cars. So just on that, you mentioned sort of that the intention. Is BMW actively like putting on drive days and giving existing customers a taste of what to expect? Are you active like that to showcase your upcoming vehicles?
Yeah, so we know our dealer network is heavily involved in customer drive days like that. They do it for fully electric vehicles. They have M drive days at tracks as well. And just general, like, they'll take a bunch of customers in XMs and i7s and the very top end of our luxury range. They have drive days like that. So they do already offer those type of experiences for our customers.
Because it is something you really got to experience. A lot of customers, and BMW, I suppose similar to Mercedes, they tend to be a little bit older drivers. They're with a little wealthier. I think that they would really appreciate a drive like that ahead of time, because it is real. It has, we've heard on the show before, it has sold the vehicle in that driver's mind. They're thinking, I love this, I'm going to get this. So are you guys obviously seeing that result as well?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's just like your normal test drive when you go into the dealership. After the drive and you've experienced the BMW, you're pretty much signing on the dotted line. And I mean, now even with our BEV cars, and I've heard you guys talk about it, the folks that ring up on your show, that one pedal acceleration and braking with the regeneration in the electric motor, which tops up the battery. I mean, it's the only way I drive our electric cars around town. You put it into that automatic brake mode and you really don't have to touch the brake. It's actually quite a pleasant experience driving these cars around town.
It is fascinating also. I was in an Uber this morning, and it was not an electric car, and the driver, he found out that I owned an EV, and he was kind of asking me a lot of questions. He was he said to me, "You're a greenie." And I went, "Mate, I didn't buy these cars to save the planet. I bought these cars because they drive so well. They're just such a great driving experience." And you said earlier, and I think this is really fascinating about BMW as a brand, right? You said it still drives like a BMW, right? Now, I've told Stephen this, and people, long-term listeners will know this story from year 2000 when I was in Perth, and I was going to buy a BMW 3 Series, right? And my mum was with me, weirdly. I was an adult, but anyway, my mum was with me. She was visiting at the time in Perth. She had to sign the contract. And we got in a 318i, and my mum was in the back seat, and the salesman was in the passenger seat. We came up to a roundabout, Brendan, and he looked at me, and he said, "Drive through it like you want to." And I went, "What?" He goes, "You know what I mean." And so I didn't decrease in speed at a great rapid pace. I just drove actively through the roundabout. And I drove back and I signed the paperwork. Yeah. The electric vehicle has to have that same experience. Do you still call it sheer driving pleasure like the ads used to be? And I don't think there'd be anyone that wouldn't still have that feeling, if not better, with an electric car.
An EV.
Yeah, exactly. Well, sheer driving pleasure, or the ultimate driving experience.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think I'm very similar to you. I love the roundabouts in a BMW. I love the on ramps onto a freeway or a highway in a BMW as well. Yeah. And that's what's very special about our electric vehicle. Very well balanced cars. All the safety equipment, all the dynamics you'd find in a regular BMW, it's all there in an electric BMW. And probably the beauty about these electric cars is where the battery pack sits on the car, and we know the weight of the car
distribution.
and where that weight is. It greatly affects the dynamics, and these cars steer and corner and drive just as good as any other BMW I've ever experienced.
Well, we're getting close to the end of the interview here, but I want to know, what is the best, what's some of the most common questions that customers ask? Like, I'm sure it's a learning experience for you guys as much as it is for customers. What are the questions you get asked about the BMW EVs?
Yeah, I think the major question is around charging and charging infrastructure. And, our strategy was around similar to what a lot of other OEMs, with the ChargeFox subscription.
Yep.
It's pretty much like giving our customers free electricity in the form of, if you were to buy internal combustion, you're getting free petrol or diesel.
Yep.
But in this case, it's free electricity. So I think that's one of the key things we've taken on to help with that transition to electric mobility as well, so that you've got a charging network right around the country that people can still access. Together with how do I charge it at home? We provide the wall box and so forth, which is also
so you do include that. You
well.
add that, do you? Is that a free upgrade for the car? You get it for free? The
No,
wall box?
it's
Optional extra?
accessory through our after sales network.
Okay.
But on cars like i7s, right up the top of the spectrum, we include a wall box with the vehicle as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
So just finally then, I think the thing that I'm curious about is, again, a lot of the reporting, you see it, this company's gone back on their plans and all that kind of stuff. What's the future? And what commitments has BMW generally and Australia made? Because, there is this drive towards zero. There's this drive towards EV. Some people don't see that as being necessary. Where's the future for BMW Australia in terms of the mix of EV and petrol?
Yeah, well, I think the models we have right now is just the tip of the iceberg. I know the board in Munich, through various events, have already started to talk about our next generation of cars, which is under the Neue Klasse platform.
Mm-hmm.
I can't talk too much about those at the moment, but we're probably about 2 years away for that. But it's very exciting from what I see, and I think overall. Our global statement is, we expect by the end of this decade, we will be somewhere around about 50-50 between BEV and internal combustion. Internal combustion is still a very important part of our portfolio at the moment. We've got some very exciting M cars in the market.
Yes.
One of our highest selling cars also is an X5 30D, which is our diesel X5. It makes up about % of our X5 mix, and they're very popular with our customers here in Australia. So it's to be quite frank, we're probably sitting on the fence right now about which way will it go full 100% electric. We probably need to wait until into the next decade to fully evaluate that.
But the bottom line is you're ready. You're ready to provide the car that people want. If they want to be EV, you're there.
Meet demand.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what the federal government's recently announced, and I'm sure you guys are all over this, with the NVES and some very, very aggressive CO2 targets that we all need to by 2029. We're quite comfortable here at BMW Australia that we will easily be able to achieve these types of figures with our product portfolio we've got coming over the next 5 years.
Awesome stuff, Brendan. Really great to talk to you, mate. Really great to hear what's happening at the brand level in terms of EVs in Australia. And good luck with the portfolio. And we love driving them. We look forward to driving more of them.
Yes.
I've got a few of them booked while Stephen's on holidays in August. So sucked in, Stephen. I'm driving BMWs while you're in Europe. Thanks so much for your time, Brendan.
All right, thanks, Trevor. Thanks, Stephen. All the best.
Thanks,
Good
mate.
on you, mate. Cheers. Yeah, sorry, Stephen. I booked a bunch of really great cars.
Wow!
While you're on a cruise.
How that's terrible. How will I ever cope with that? I'll be in Europe.
No envy, no jealousy. When do you leave?
I'll
just
get
checking.
my chance. I'll get my chance.
I might have one for you before you go, okay? I've got a BMW iX1 for you the week before you go.
Lovely.
All right?
Yeah.
So you can cruise off
easy.
into the sunset in a BMW
Love it.
iX1.
Yeah.
But look, it's just good to hear from a brand like that.
Of course.
And we talked about Volvo a couple of weeks ago. We'll talk to Volvo very soon as well. And I made a comment that I thought that Volvo had made a commitment to be EV only before even the global brand. And Greg from Volvo was listening. Thank you for listening, Greg. And he said that I was right. Volvo going all electric by 2026, 4 years ahead of the global aim.
Wow.
And that just shows how the different companies are doing different things. They've got a path and a plan.
Yep.
But what Brendan said there is fascinating. There's a big percentage of their market that buy a certain type of car with a certain type of engine. Why would you walk away from that?
Of course not. No.
They're going to keep serving them up until those people discover another model in the market that might do whatever it is that they get out of that car. It might be range, it might be comfort, performance, who knows? But
the customers drive the shape, the direction of the company. I think if there's demand for a certain type of car or a certain drivetrain, or if it's EV, if it's petrol, then they go that way.
the customer's always right.
Yeah.
So I think catering to them all is probably the smart move right now.
That'd be the way to go.
Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. That's some of your best, Stephen. Really. Well, that one ends very abruptly.
It does, yeah.
You just got into the jiggy of it, and then it ended.
Went dush. Just
Dush.
cut off. Yeah.
Is that an official?
Dush. Yep.
I think we need new music.
You think so?
It's
All
not
right.
quite so dance party-ish.
Okay. I thought it'd be sort of more futuristic feel.
Yeah, I
as
see
how
what you
just-
went with.
When I went with a brief to get those, I sort of went
Yeah.
futuristic and modern.
Remind me, I'll have a look for some.
Yeah. Okay.
Not right now,
Yeah.
but at some point in time.
Okay.
Anyway, Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. Thanks to NRMA Insurance and Uniden Smart Dash Cams. Uniden. That's how you say it.
Uniden.
Especially when you don't have a plate in your mouth. It's much easier to say. Uniden.
Yeah.
Uniden.
Yeah, you need to listen to Two Blokes Talking Tech to understand what we're talking about in terms of Trevor's dental adventures.
Yep.
Yep.
Anyway, 0477 657 657 if you want to talk EVs. Jacob is on the line. G'day, Jacob.
G'day, fellas. How are you?
Real good, mate.
good.
What's your situation? You own an EV? You got a plan? What's happening?
Mate, I don't own one yet, but I did hire one in Melbourne 2 weeks ago, and that basically sealed the deal for me, I think.
Oh, really?
Really? Right. What did
Talk
you
us
hire?
through
What
it.
was it?
So hired a Polestar 2, so long-range dual motor.
Nice.
And I'm a mechanic by trade. I've driven a lot of cars over the years, but I've never experienced, just that instant torque.
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
And so, being a mechanic, mate, are you worried about your job, or what? Are you going to transition to an electrician for EVs? How's the industry going to go?
I mean, you know what? It'll be interesting. I've actually moved, into a slightly different segment now. I work in construction, but I'd say that will probably end up much the same way. But I think there's always been evolutions in that industry, and they'll just roll with the bouncing ball.
So talk us through the experience then that tipped you over the edge. What did you hire? What were the highs and lows?
So hired a Polestar 2.
Yeah.
So my partner travels a lot for work. So whenever I go down to see her, I use the experience to hire something that I wouldn't
Nice.
normally own.
Yep.
Now, sort of always been interested in electric vehicles and following the industry and what's happening there. So yeah, I hired a Polestar 2, so long range dual motor. Pulled out of the airport and sort of put my foot down and felt instantly sick. Pretty impressive. And then one thing I found interesting. So when I was taking the vehicle back, I decided to pull in and give it some charge before I did. And I pulled up at the Airport West RACV charger there near the airport. Yep. There were 6 high-speed chargers. 4 of them were working and 2 weren't. And every single person in front of me was having issues getting their vehicle to charge. And it sort of made me realise that process, isn't very intuitive at all.
Yeah.
The charger that I pulled up on, the screen had been taped over, so you couldn't see anything on the screen. So, I guess lucky I'm a little bit young and a little bit tech savvy, I worked out that there was probably an app involved.
Yes.
And I ended up, getting that across the line and getting it working. But every single person I experienced had, I watched them have issues, getting it set up.
Yeah, I think there was a comms issue. I think a lot of these are connected through the Telstra network.
But can I make a guess? Because you're at the airport, on the way back to the airport, were they all rental cars, you reckon? Because if this is your first rodeo, it's not easy.
Yeah.
No. So they actually weren't, because I spoke to a few people. So there was a guy, he had a BYD Seal. He'd owned it for 6 months. There was another couple there that had a Audi e-tron GT.
Nice.
So, I don't know if it was coincidental. It was the first time any of them had used the ChargeFox chargers, but, it definitely wasn't a seamless experience for them.
Wow.
You're right. So did that put a dent in your aspirations of getting an EV? I know you love the performance, but did that make you think, it might be a bit hard to charge it?
I wouldn't say for me, mate. I'm pretty easygoing, and I sort of worked it out. But I thought, for the different demographic, that might be enough to tip someone over the edge. You know what I mean? Put it in the too hard basket. I can't be bothered.
Yeah,
it's fascinating because you're right. That would have been the thing. See, for you had this experience, and you're like, oh, I love this. So I'm going to buy an EV at some point. Now, others might have been put off by that simple charging problem and failure. I think, and tell me if I'm wrong here, Jacob, but I think the problem with the charging network is it all just needs to go tap and go. Can we just use the apps for availability so that I can look at an app on the way somewhere and go, oh, it's cool, there's 3 available. And can we just walk up, tap and go with our credit cards, please? It would be so much easier.
Yeah.
100%. And I actually thought that, excuse me, I actually thought that was the case because there was an RFID chip reader on the front. I scanned it and nothing happened.
ChargeFox. ChargeFox have a little tag on your keyring.
Yes.
We just spoke to Brendan from BMW. When you buy a BMW i7, you get a little keyring fob, and you tap that and you got charging.
Audi had too. The Audis we drove had them as well.
Yeah, but that doesn't come for all customers. That's just the press cars.
Yes, I understand.
But that's why they have the tap and go. But it should be a credit card, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it makes
Absolutely.
sense. Makes sense. So Brendan, what are you driving right now? What are you? Sorry, Jacob.
We were talking to Brendan from BMW.
We were talking to Brendan before. Jacob, sorry. What are you driving right now then?
So we've got a hybrid RAV4, so sort of I guess the gateway to the full EV. Yeah,
gateway. Well, and so you drove the Polestar. Is that what you're thinking of buying, or is that just you think EV next, and I'm going to look around?
No, I mean obviously I'd say I make a decision on a Polestar, but it wouldn't be very responsible to not drive anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone jumps for the Teslas. They don't really do anything for me because I don't like that they're more of a tech piece than a car. I like a car that's got tech rather than a piece of tech that moves.
That's right.
That's interesting thought.
Because
about
a Tesla isn't the best driver's car. They're a great car. They drive well.
Yeah.
But if you were to drive BMW, we spoke of BMW, even a Polestar, there's something about the dynamics of the vehicle. If you love a little squirt around corners and things like that, you'll notice. But if you're the average, driver, then you may just prefer the tech. That's a really good way of looking at it, Jacob.
Yeah, I think what you're referring to is the Tesla, and a lot of other people think this too, the minimalism of the car. It's very less is more. You like to sort of be sitting in what looks more like a real car rather than just having a screen. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. Yeah, I like a car that feels like a car.
Yeah. No, that's not the first time we've heard that.
What sort of duration are we looking at for your next purchase then? Like, how long are you going to spend doing this extensive research?
So I lease my cars, so novated lease them. So I think we've got just under 12 months on the RAV. So we've got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's going to be some advancements, some changes. Hopefully see what the infrastructure does, because that'll be, that's the other issue as well. I live here in the inner west in Sydney in an apartment building, and charging's the buzzword at the moment.
Yes. Well,
I need to get my ducks in a row.
State government's rolling out a lot of street side charges in areas like where you are there and around New South Wales. So they're moving in the right direction, I guess. But so in less than 12 months, is it the Polestar 4 comes out before then?
You'll have 3 Polestar options.
There'll be more
by
Polestar
then.
options. Yeah.
Plus, you'll have the extra Kia, the EV5, the EV3, maybe by then.
Yep.
There'll probably be better Hyundai options. Yeah, so, and even that Toyota BR4Z639 thing, it's a stupid name for a car. Like that, that's essentially an electric RAV4, probably a bit smaller.
Yeah.
But you do have a lot of options. That's the cool thing about being in this position right now.
Yeah, I do quite like the look of the Polestar 4 as well.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so you're across today.
There we go.
He's a fan of the Polestar.
Nice. Well, it's a really interesting observation, Jacob, and I do like the idea of renting a car. We spoke to Brendan Wood, who used to do some podcasts with us. Yep. Mentioned kind of an experience he had where he enjoyed the car, but the charging was a problem.
Yeah,
I'll tell you the other thing that I came across, Jacob, and this is of those 6 chargers, were they all CCS? Were they all the charger for the Polestar, or were half CHAdeMO and half CCS?
So 5 of them were CCF, 1 was CHAdeMO.
Right, because here's an interesting thing that happened to me, and I'll share this with Jacob as well. I was up at we are going to go to Seinfeld, and I had a bunch of people come with me, so I wanted to have the EV9 charged up, and we didn't have time during the day to do it at home, so we were going to lunch up at Hornsby, and there's a Ampol charger at Hornsby. I said, well, I'll drop you guys at the pub, I'll drive across the road, park the car, 40 minutes.
Charger up.
Fully, beautiful.
Yep.
So I plugged it in, and then I came back to check on it just because I thought, I'm a bit nervous for a second after 10 minutes. And there was a woman there with it was either BYD or something, and she was trying to plug the Chatamo into her car. Because, you drive up, there's one charger and two nozzles, if you think of it that way. And I said, I'm sorry, that's for a different type of car. You have to wait for me to finish. And it was like this mind-blowing moment that not all chargers work for your car.
It's a steep learning curve.
It goes to that education process, doesn't it,
Definitely,
Jacob?
yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah. All right, you're a good man. Thanks for getting in touch, Jacob. Love to hear the story, mate.
Perfect. Thanks, gents.
Cheers, buddy.
Take
Good
care,
on you,
mate.
and enjoy the new car when you get one.
Sorry for calling you Brendan too, mate.
That's
Sorry,
right. I brought it up. I mentioned the other Brendan.
It was your fault.
It was all my fault.
Yeah.
But that's a great way to experience a car without having to deal with a dealer. Have it for a day or three or whatever.
They're not trying to sell it to you. It's
no.
It's no hard no pressure on you.
But look at that. In the space of 20 minutes,
Yeah.
charging identified by Brendan at BMW as one of the number one questions, if not issues, people have.
Definitely.
And Jacob, who overcame it because of his, I guess,
sort of savvy.
enthusiasm.
Yeah, he knew
someone
about-
who's he said, I'm young. But if you're young and skeptical about EVs, you definitely would be absolutely panning the concept right now.
What's the saying? You only get one chance to make a first impression, and that would have been a pretty poor first impression if you were driving it. Yeah,
I'm telling you, I just wish someone.
They've got to get their act together, really do.
We need someone with $1 billion just to go, we're going to make this work.
It's going to work all the time. Yeah,
we can make it work, but we need to invest for the long haul.
Yeah. Well, I think it's in their best interest to do it. If your charger's not working, you're not making money. So
it's a weird thing.
It's going to affect the driver and the company as well.
All right, we love hearing from you. If you've got a question about EVs, we're happy to try and answer it or educate ourselves with your experience. That's what we're here for. Thank you to NRMA Insurance and Uniden Smart Dash Cams. I didn't say it again properly,
Uniden
really.
Smart Dash Cams. Yeah, the Dash View. Check it out.
Check it out.
4K.
0477 657 657. If you want to get in touch, happy to hear from you, Stephen. We'll do it again next week.
Look forward to it.